Hey, I'm J.R. Lay, and welcome back to the Level Up Business Podcast. Today, I'd like to introduce you to my friend, Billy Bloom, and that's because Billy and I are going to explore a radically different path to success. One rooted not in hustle, not in control, but in intention, in energy, in flow. Billy founded Bloom Financial. He also founded Diane Money. And he's going to share how he walked away from the illusion of security in traditional work to build a life, to build a business centered on authenticity, on giving, and on deeper inner trust. So if you've ever felt stuck, if you've ever been trying to force results in your business as an entrepreneur, or if you've been questioning your next steps as an entrepreneur, this conversation is an invitation to pause and to tune into your intuition so that you can create from the inside out. But first, if you are a visionary B2B entrepreneur who wants to transform your past experiences being some of your most valuable assets as an entrepreneur, if you want to transform those experiences into IP that elevates your influence and increases your income, send me a text right now, 832-240-1922, because I want to teach you. I want to show you how you can turn video content just like this into a published book that monetizes your unique wisdom. Now, let's get ready to learn. Let's get ready to grow. Let's get ready to level up with Billy. Where you at, Bill?
Chicago. At the Chicago podcast studio where I did my TV show. Doug Tom's here. So I wanted to do the professional style.
Well, I'm glad that you are, because
man,
a whole different energy.
I love being here. This is my happy place.
Why is that?
You just get to create, man. Just have fun. And Tom's the best. Like, he gives me great feedback. He's just so helpful.
Well, let's talk about what's giving you energy right now. Give me something positive in your world.
Oh boy. The act of giving is changing everything. If you're not thinking about yourself, you're thinking about other people. And that's where the magic is happening, for me at least. When you sit down and create content or do shows like this, it's not about what you're trying to promote or do. Like, doing the content is just a way to level up the next level. See that level up? Little praise there for you. But you're leveling other people up with you. And creating that content is, well, when you're giving people tools to have better lives, it's really simple for them to implement those things. You just got to do the work, whether you spend the 30 minutes or the hour on the course or listen to the meditations. It's all doable. It's just little stuff. You got to keep practicing it. It doesn't happen overnight.
Is it habits? Is it what's driving that for you? I mean, when you think about your growth as an entrepreneur over the last 10 years?
Yeah, 11 now.
11. I was watching in preparation for this. You had the event. You had it recorded. It looked like it was at the yacht club for 10 years.
Yeah, that was a 10-year Bloom Financial anniversary party. That was so much fun. We had 120 people there. That was a big, expensive party, but it goes back to giving.
It looked like it.
It was. When I got the bill, I was like, holy. But it was worth it. It was a great investment of time, and people had so much fun. It's just when you can commemorate those memories. It's like taking pictures of your kid. I mean, you were just in Italy with the family. How many pictures did you take? How many videos did you take? And with what you did with Delina's dad, those things are so important to me, at least. And I know it is for you too.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm getting so much energy with Level Up Business, helping other entrepreneurs unlock and capture and then share and amplify the wisdom that they have gained. I've never thought about this before, but I was talking about this with Brian Sweet, who you were so sweet and kind to introduce me to. And as Audrey calls him, Sweet Brian.
Brian.
But he was asking me, like, why? And you mentioned Delina's father. You know, when I think about, like, how much wisdom went with him when he passed, the wisdom that he had gained, as an entrepreneur for 60 years, as a real estate developer for, probably 40 years. Um, it's gone. And now it's like, how many other entrepreneurs have that knowledge, have that wisdom that can be shared so freely at this point to do what you came in here sharing? It's like, I want to give, because that's where the magic is.
Yeah. I mean, I think about when my mom passed, she could embark on a ton of wisdom and could have wrote a book about what not to do with money.
Hmm.
I mean,
Talk about
there's
that,
lessons in
because
all that stuff.
well, that's a big driving factor for you with your own entrepreneurial ventures.
True.
Um, let's roll this back just a bit, because you mentioned you had the 10-year anniversary with Bloom Financial, the big party.
Yeah.
It was a snapshot in time. It was a picture, a way to bring 120 people together. And even then, in your speech, you were sharing. It's like, who was with me when I made this transition? Um, and people raise their hand. Roll back the clock a little bit, because I think it's going to be helpful context of how you got to this point in time, because every entrepreneur that I talk to, whether it's on this podcast or just making a call, having a connection with them, I think the context is extremely helpful of how we got to this point here today.
Yeah. I always knew I was very unemployable from doing a 9 to 5 job. It just doesn't like fit who I am. And when I was 25, 26, I knew that something was weird where I was working. The energy wasn't there. It's just, there's a new cycle of people every week, every month. I was the only one there who started from a couple years prior. So huge failure rate. And when my managers were asking me to split my commissions, I had no salary. It was to split my commissions with these new people who I knew weren't going to make it. I could
What were
tell.
you doing 24, 25?
Ooh,
What were you
they wanted us to sell annuities to people and life insurance to people and just do that kind of, it was like a pyramid where the managers make money if you make money. So that's why they wanted me to split my revenue with the younger people so that they could hit their bonuses. And then the people above them got, it was nonsense. So
doing?
that's why I left when I turned 28. I'm like, I'm going to figure this out on my own, do things the right way. And if I fail, I fail, but I'll do it my way. And that's what was important to me. I think way too many people are scared of what other people think of them. Complete
Yeah.
nonsense. You got to follow your intuition because it's going to be right. And I wanted to figure out a better path forward, not only for my clients, but for their families. And I knew that a long time ago. It's just, you got to take the leap of faith and go for it.
Talk about following your intuition, because that is something that I'd call, that's a developing capability for me.
Me too.
Even when you and I met, it was 5-ish years ago, I think, 5 or 6. It's been a while,
Yeah.
and I think about how you have grown. I've watched you grow as an entrepreneur. I mean, even when we were talking last week, I think it was, what was it, Friday? You and I were texting. You just picked up the phone and gave me a call. You were walking to the gym, and you had shared something with me that I thought was extremely profound. It's like you're just becoming more aware of what's giving you energy and what's taking your energy. And perhaps at the intersection of all of that, it's intuition.
Oh, it is. And creation. Because if you're following your intuition, it's going to give you energy to go create. And when you create, you're giving. I mean, I got feedback from someone who I'm very close to, and they're like, you're doing all these things. Why don't you focus on your core business? And you know what? They're correct. I can do that, but I'm following my intuition to give other people value, and that could lead and will lead into the core business. It's just a stepping stone of that. And that's when sometimes you don't want to listen to people who don't have an entrepreneurial mindset or have never done it. They've never created anything in their life. So you can't let other people hold you down when you know your path forward is the right one. That's your intuition. And there's a lot to unpack there. It's like, yeah, you're listening to close people in your life, but just because they say it doesn't mean it's right.
Well, I was going to say, if, we don't have to name names, but this person close to you saying, why don't you just focus on your core business? How did they make you feel when
So
because you've
mad.
got to,
Defensive.
why,
Totally defensive.
why, why did that
It's
have
more
that type
about the
of reaction?
support of it. It's like, are you supporting me or not?
Oh,
Like, are you in my corner or are you not? That's the
mm,
main thing. And the truth behind it all is the people in your life will try and keep you in a box of their comfort level for what they're willing to do. It has nothing to do with you. It's about their own insecurities with themselves. And that's why it's so important for you not to listen to the noise and follow that intuition and follow your own path. Because if you're 100 years old and if you're on your deathbed, what would you rather do? That's the question.
so that's a very interesting point because the shirt that I wear almost every single day
That your kids
has
make
two
fun of
words.
you about.
Yes, but
Dad,
it's
get a new
memento
shirt.
mori.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's memento mori. It's remember your death because it's like I don't want to be on my deathbed, whether that's a day from now, a week, a year, 100 years from now, saying, "What if?" And I was just talking
Yeah.
to someone who has now ventured out on their own entrepreneurial journey, talking to them earlier this morning, and he made a comment to me about how many times he talks to people, peers, that always talk about, dream about going out and doing their own thing, but they're in love with the security of the 9 to 5, of the
It's a
job.
trap. It's not security. It's keeping you trapped. It's not security at all.
So let's unpack that. Let's because I think that's that security
Nonsense.
piece. We're either approaching something or we're avoiding something. If we break down like basic psychology, we're moving towards something, or we're avoiding or trying to move away from something. And what is security to you? What does that mean? Because you said it's a trap, but what does that mean, security?
Well, security for me, I think at this point, almost being 40 is just living in your true purpose. That's what's going to bring the money in, bring the relationships in. You're just being authentic. And that's like the transformation that you've seen in yourself too, just with the transformation. It's like that being authentic is going to open up the doors instead of saying the right thing at the right time. That's what I was always trying to do. And now that I'm letting that go, that's security because you're yourself. You're not trying to be someone else, something else to other people. And
How much
going
of it
back in, go ahead.
is that trying to be someone else, for other people? How much of that is the programming that we had, whether that be from our family of origin, school, early career? What Why do we try to be something for someone else instead of being who we are being called to be, whether it's the higher self, God, universe, however you want to contextualize that? But why do we end up trying to fit a mold over here for other people?
No, mine goes back to my childhood because my dad was a terrible alcoholic and I had to be the peacemaker in the house. Change the subject. Let's stop the the name calling, the screaming, the yelling. It was my whole childhood. So that's part of it. And when you decompact that, it's powerful and it's painful too, because you're bringing back those old wounds and realizing at a young age, like what this actually means, because that stuff stays in you unless you release it. And it's not easy to do. So for me, It's been my programming for a long time just to make people happy because that was the environment that I grew up with.
Do you remember what you told me to start this year? You said you wanted to do one thing. And it's interesting now that we're through the halfway point.
Letting go.
It was a
Is that what I
letting
said?
go. That was one thing you said. There was something else though, and it's almost like it
Oh,
just clicked on me.
speak my mind.
Use your voice,
Bingo. Yeah.
speak your mind.
Yep.
It's fascinating when you put that intention to start the year, and I think about what you're doing now with these, for example, these meditations.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I recorded them here at the studio with Tom. It was in the chair right next to me. So much fun. That gave me so much energy, and I just want to release it and get them out and see how it helps people. And it's
But that's
all
fascinating that you started this year wanting, literally saying, and I have the text message. I'll probably go back, and you and I talked about it on a call too. I want to use my voice. I want to speak my mind. And in 6 months, what has happened with that intention? Because if you go back to your programming from before, that childhood, you just wanted to keep the peace.
yep.
What is helping you make these transitions as an entrepreneur? Because you have core business, Bloom Financial, but then you've almost have these planets that orbit that.
Feels like it.
Diane money, coming back to being inspired from your mom's experience. You have these money meditations. How are you continuously making these connections to see new opportunities versus just staying with who you were a decade ago?
It's me going to the coffee shop, going for a walk, working out. Um, the meditations are key. I mean, JR, that's the key. That's where I get a lot of my ideas from, is just being silent, trying to be silent, and trying to be consistent with that. By slowing down, these are the new ideas that come to fruition. And then it's like, oh, I can go create this. Because I know we have the capabilities. Like we were going to do so many other things. And sometimes people don't work out. Situations don't work out. And following that intuition is just a beautiful thing. It's just allowing myself to be. And when you be, everything will be taken care of. You let go.
That point of letting go resonates with me just because of the work that I've been doing as an entrepreneur over the last, really, 6 months, even more so than I probably have ever before. How do you let go? Because it's interesting when I think about like a lot of the concepts that we have learned through Strategic Coach, the concepts that we've learned through Elevated, the concepts that are now being amplified with books like 10x is easier than 2x. I was literally just watching something from Ben Hardy this morning, and it really is like, wow, like 10x is easier than 2x. I get it. I'm seeing it. I'm working on it. I'm living it. I don't know about the easier part though. I haven't. I'm like,
Yeah. That's to
because
sell books.
correct, but I also know that because if you think about the concept of 10x is easier than 2x, or be your future self now,
Yeah.
a lot of it is we are being our present self is being informed by past experiences
And your
where
thoughts, your past
thoughts, experiences, feelings, emotions, beliefs, all of that. But when you flip that around and you start being your future self now, or you start focusing on the 10x, the 20% is going to create the 80%. And it might not even be the 20%. It might be like the 5% or the 10%. It could be a smaller percentage, but your intuition is saying, go there. And now you're operating from a future paradigm, a paradigm that only you can see, that only you can feel. And everyone else is thinking, you're freaking crazy. What's that 10x for you? What's that future paradigm that you're operating from right now that did not exist a decade ago, 5 years ago, perhaps even a year ago? How are you continuously making those shifts?
I look at it from 10 years ago till today. I look at my family. All these things that we have are things that I wanted. I know that I always wanted to live in a condo in downtown Chicago. Did that. No, wanted to get married, have 2 kids. Done that. All great things. Like have a house. All these things in Chicago. Done. And now I'm thinking, what do I need to do to not only have my family set up financially? Like that's a big thing for me just because of the lack of financial help as a child, but how do you give that to other people? And I know that those terms are used so widely, probably a lot of times in wrong context because there's a lot of different meanings to it. But I think 10 years from now, how is Diane Money helping people get rid of their debt by the billions and with collaborations with banks and credit unions? Where I'm not doing the work, they're doing the work to help other people because that's a lifelong mission for me. That's just like a non-negotiable. I could have given up multiple times on this. It's just not going to happen. So the endurance has been there. There's plenty of days where I don't feel like doing anything. And sometimes you need to take a free day. Thank God for Coach, right? The blessing to know these things, to give yourself permission. And I know in the future, I see all these things that I'm doing is going to lead to a bigger and better future, not only for the enterprises, like the different companies, because they're all going to come together one day. That's the inevitability of everything. It's like, how does everything come together? Even doing this new Retire with Purpose workshop, like I created a 30-minute course to help you plan out your whole entire lifetime after you stop working, if you choose to, because then you have your time freed up. Imagine what you would do with a month not doing anything. What about a year? It's like, these are the value things that I want to give to people just to better their lives. And I see the missing parts, and that's what I'm trying to create to fulfill so that other people don't have those hiccups, because I want everyone to think about this, and you have a huge audience. What are you going to do with 30 days where you don't have to reply to emails, do a Google Meet or whatever, a Zoom? What are you going to do with your time? You know, going shopping only lasts so long. Being on vacation or a trip, there's a difference depending on who you're with. That only lasts so long. So what do you do with your time? That's what I'm realizing is I understand this and I want to give from that standpoint.
You mentioned your biggest breakthroughs, your moments of clarity come in the silence, your own personal meditations. I know with your purpose of whether it's Diane Money or Bloom Financial or Retire with Purpose, you mentioned this before, recording these money meditations.
Yep.
Was that even in your field of vision to start the year, or did that come through your intuition this year?
All intuition. You know, Trav, my accountability coach, said, "Mate, you're really into all this stuff. Like, why is it not coming from you?"
Here, mate.
Trav is great. And I thought to myself, God's telling me something. Go do it. What's the worst that's going to come from this? I spend money. I have a recording. We could have it forever. I could use it myself and we'll benefit. If other people use it, great.
Talk to me about why these money meditations, because from what I understand, from what you've shared, they are weekly meditations. Why? Why invest the time, the energy yourself? What is your hope? What is your goal with these meditations for those that invest their time and their energy to listen, to reflect? What do you hope changes for them?
Yeah. So my own money manifestations have been so real. Like my intentionality, my thinking is leading me to where everything's going. And there's fruition for this. I've got 2 years ago, I had a $106,000 tax bill. I extended my taxes. My accountant got everything to me late. I'm like, okay. 6 months later, I got a $108,000 bonus. I manifested this from my back office as a retention.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about this, came to fruition because I asked the universe or God, however you want to quantify that, for that. So I didn't have to come up with the hundred and whatever $1,000 to pay this tax bill. It came from the universe, came from God. These things are real. This is not nonsense. This is not woo stuff, but you have to have the ability to think. And if you could think it, it can come true. Like A Man Thinketh is a great short little book.
1905. Yes, I think James Allen, I believe, As Man Thinketh, 1905.
Great book.
And by the way,
Great book.
if you are watching or listening to this, you don't have to read that book. You can go to a YouTube channel called Master Key Society, where they have a lot of these, we'll call them ancient texts at this point, that begin to expand your awareness of the most important technology that I believe every single human being must learn to master in the age of AI, which is the technology that sits between your two ears. You have the brain, which is the biological machine, the biological computer, but then you have the mind, which is the software. And it's like, if you want to upgrade your life, if you want to level up your life as an entrepreneur, as a human, as a father, as a husband, as a spouse, as a partner, it starts with the mind, leveling up the software. It comes back to what you were talking about, the thinking component here, the thinking faculties. I think as Napoleon Hill writes, the thinking faculties. What are you doing to continuously level up your mind? You mentioned the meditations, the free days. Is there anything else that helps you continuously see things beyond what you can see today, and then have the courage to commit to then go and create? Because you can think it, but then there's some sort of action, because you mentioned the point of you had this tax bill, you thought, you manifested it.
Yep.
Perhaps there were some actions that you were taking either consciously or unconsciously that also then resulted in the result.
Well, I journaled about it. I said, this will be paid. This is already done. You have to have the mindset that it's done already. That's the letting go. Your energy is like a pendulum. So if you think about, you want a car, let's say you want a Lamborghini, just complete nonsense, but you want a Lamborghini.
Ferrari. Now.
Anyway, but like if you focus on that, the energy is just going to swing back and forth. If you focus on that, you're not letting it go. You're staying on the hamster wheel, but it's going back and forth, back and forth. Reading The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer, I think, was one of the most influential books I've ever read in my life. And then Love Money, Money Loves You. And Isabel Tierney told me about these two books. And the intention from your mind, if you don't think it's going to happen, it's never going to happen. And if for some reason it does, you're not going to keep it because you don't believe it. If you believe it, it can happen. there's some point in time where it's already happened and you just have to close that gap. And that's the believing and letting go. And I think
You
with me right now, JR, it's just letting it happen instead of me trying to force things because I've been really good at pushing. Now letting it go, that's what's happening to me. So fun stuff like this, the Money Monday manifestations, creating this other course, it's all coming to me instead of me having to push for it.
You mentioned something before about asking, asking God. It literally hit me in the face last night. Leon and I, we were watching season 5 of The Chosen, which is a fantastic narrative of you have the 12 disciples and how human they are. I think a lot of times when you think about some of these stories and narratives and archetypes across the centuries and time and space, it's very hard to connect. But then there's that point of knock and the door will be opened. How many times do we just fail to knock because we don't think the door is going to be open? So we're the one who's preventing that. And the knock could simply be the thought, the idea,
blocks.
the belief, the action. It's like, I don't know where this thought, this idea came to me, but it was on a Sunday night going into Monday this week. And it's like the Tao, the DAO, which when you look at the Eastern philosophies, it's the way. What is the way? The first is you have to decide, make a decision. And an indecision is a decision too. So the decision to record these money manifestation meditations. So you make the decision, then you act. So there's an action. And once again, just like an indecision, an inaction is also an action.
True.
And then there's an outcome. So DAO, decide, act, and you're going to get an outcome. So that is the way.
Yeah, that is the way. That is the way. And if you believe you could have money coming to you, even if you just reprogram your mind for that, because most people on the planet will need to reprogram their mind for it. And if you could literally have these Money Monday manifestations, you could listen to them every day. They're 5 minutes to 10 minutes, but you can have access to all of them and just put them on repeat. Do one a day, one a day, one a day. But the intention for the Monday was get your week started right. Have that positivity going into the week. You listen to them every day if you want. You'll have them in perpetuity forever. You have to believe. You have to change your mindset. I've had to go through this so many times with even understanding that I deserve these things and not feeling guilty about having success or money or watches or things. Like we've talked about this. I've been very open with that in our group.
Mm-hmm.
And listening to Lisa Smith's chat after you told me about that was eye-opening because, yes, I've done all these things, taking care of our family. Now it's time for me to focus in on how can I create. But the creation it benefits to everyone. And be okay with that versus me saying, I probably shouldn't have this. Maybe it's too expensive. I'm done with that nonsense. So I've killed that part off of me. And that's liberating in and of itself. That's freedom. And I'm not forcing it either. Because Tom knows here at the studio, like trying to get different watches and stuff like this has been like a mind mess for me for different aspects of it too. Like, I deserve it. Do I not deserve it? Can I afford it? Can I not afford it? All these things. Just letting go of all that and letting it come to me versus me pushing for everything, for all things in life. I just feel calm.
Well, that's what I want to come back to, because you say you feel calm, and you touched on this before, the forcing versus the flow, which has been, it's come up in a couple of other conversations. One was with Daniel White, one was with Jordan Boniface, both also elevated members as well. One was with Chris Walker, and Chris Walker is really thinking about kind of this new way of thinking, this new way of creating, which is from a place of flow versus from force. And I will tell you, as a 23-year entrepreneur, 90 up to this point, I'd say probably 98% of that has been from force and not flow.
Yep.
And I feel it. And that you, for me, making the change to launch Level Up Business took enough pain to make the change. And if you think about behavioral economics, people are more likely to make a change to avoid pain than they are to achieve a gain. So it's like I had to reach a level of pain to say, I'm done. I'm the one who needs to change, because I'm the one who's in control of myself. I can control only what I can control, i.e. my thoughts, my emotions, my beliefs. And by no stretch of the imagination am I finished. I'm just getting started with all of this. But come back to forcing versus flow in your own entrepreneurial journey, because you mentioned that you forced a lot too, or you were operating from a place of force, and now you have gone through the act and are going through the act of letting go. And you mentioned letting go is liberating. It's like weightlessness. It's ascension. It is elevation. It's leveling you up. But come back to the distinction between the two, because if someone is watching and listening and they're like, that sounds very intangible. What does that mean more practically speaking, force versus flow?
It's more about following your intuition, and Daniel White would be a perfect person to back this up with his expertise. Because when you're pushing, that's what we're taught to do. You got to get to certain levels. You got to become a millionaire, then 5, then 10, then 100, whatever the parameters are for who you listen to. But those things are great. It's great to be a millionaire. It's wonderful. But are you happy? Are you doing the things you love doing? Are you pushing a boulder uphill? It's making you miserable. Are you showing up for your family, which is much more important than the money? Are you there for your kids? That's where.
Do you have your health?
Yeah, your health. Like, that's obviously the most important thing. We take that for granted every single day. And when I started to slow down and not be rushed and anxious and stressed all the time, our little guy, who's 3 years, 3 months old right now, is like the sweetest kid to me now, because I think I've let go of stress in the household, and now he's feeling comfortable. I mean, he was always comfortable, but it's like a different relationship now over the past 6 months. Same is true for our 6-year-old. Same thing, even with my wife and the people around me. People said to me, "You look so young." Weird things are happening. Like, people are coming up to me and talking to me. I'm having people walk down the street, say, "Hello, hey, how are you?" They're talking to me, just random stuff. It's just inviting that energy, because it's coming from the right place, because I'm not tied off. The stress isn't there. I mean, believe me, there's stress with all the things I'm doing, but it's not what it used to be. And I think that's the key in life. If you can figure that out, magic happens. Slowly but surely, but it happens.
It's super fascinating. You've touched on this point of energy a few times in our conversation, and you mentioned Daniel White, and we just released the second conversation that I had with him. He has this amazing framework that I highly recommend. If you're watching or listening, go check out the conversation with Daniel White, as we were talking about this point of, are you committed to something? Are you convicted to something, or does it feel like an obligation? If it's an obligation, probably feels heavy. versus a commitment, a conviction, that's going to feel light. That's going to feel energizing. And it's like, so what are you committed to versus what are you obligated to? And even when you're talking about your kids, I think those are great barometers. Those are great mirrors, because I think about Louvian, who's my third in line. And I think about my kids' intuition. It's like, they all have this amazing gift, and perhaps maybe we all have intuition, but we lose that over time. We don't train it. We don't cultivate it. I don't know what, I don't have enough perspective on this, but it's like, I just think about my kids, and like Louvian, he's like, Dad, when you come home, and this was like with the old business, when you come home, you feel heavy. You feel like you have a dark cloud over you. So to your point of your own energy shift, and I guess my question here is, when you're talking about energy, once again, you used these words before. It's not woo-woo.
No, it's not. It's all energy.
But if you were having this conversation with me a decade ago, I mean, what are you talking about? This energy stuff, like that just sounds like complete crap. How has your mind shifted when it comes to energy, like articulating that? Because I think if you're operating from a very analytical mind, which is great, perhaps, and maybe that was me, as far more analytical and a thinker versus a feeler. And there's perhaps a balance. I mean, you can also look at this masculine versus feminine energy, which
is real.
Talked about. Yes. And we talked about that on the podcast too. But how has your own perspective shifted around energy, specifically energy as an entrepreneur?
So I always thought it was nonsense. Full disclosure. I thought it was like
so. Was it
total
just me?
BS. No, God, no. But we're not taught energy because we're taught to hustle and be stuck and be in the trap. It's all set up like this for a reason. I know one of the Rockefeller family members, and we text, and he's told me about how the system's been set up, and it's real. None of this is conspiracy anymore. There's true facts behind a lot of these things. And the thing that changed for me is two things. Like, I met my wife, and she believed in things, but she made me realize energy with people. I always I felt it. I just didn't understand it. I didn't know how to express it. I knew when there's tension. I knew when people are arguing. I could look at a couple and see if they're happy or if they're not, or if they're fighting. And my wife has that too. She's excellent at it. She could point out nonsense so quick, your head will spin. But I asked Dan and Babs to go to dinner at the Chicago Yacht Club, where you and I broke bread. We had lunch there.
We had a wonderful lunch.
Oh my God, that was so much fun. The beginning of a beautiful friendship for sure. Or the enhancement, I would say. But Dan and Babs said yes. They came. And you know what happened? They brought this guy named Daniel White. Babs texted me when they're on their way. Hey, we have this guy coming with Daniel White. I've seen him before. I didn't know who he was. I thought he was a Coach employee, and he's not.
See, that's the crazy
Daniel.
thing. I was the same way with you in Strategic Coach. I'm like, I would always see Daniel, and I've told him this, and he'd be sitting in the back of the room. I thought he was a Coach employee. So it wasn't just me.
Yeah, and so Dan, being brilliant how he is, he like tees up Daniel, and then my wife's eyes get like this because she's like, up. Dan's reading the room like he does, like a genius. And then Daniel starts telling stories. Then he does our house clearing. And then we start doing personal clearings. And then we start becoming friends. He came over to our house for dinner. I cooked, like we broke bread there. He knows our boys. He's met the kids. So when you allow those things to come into your life, I just had my energy clearing yesterday. When you allow things and say yes when they're there, that's when the magic happens. That's letting go. That's the energy. That's the intuition. And as an entrepreneur, if you can tap into that, you can avoid a lot of roadblocks. And I forced a lot of things, trying to get marketers and people to help to grow things quicker. And it just wasn't the right timeline. The product wasn't right, or the services weren't right. And it's never worked out to this day. So that's
Thinking
the
about
learning.
was I thinking about the clearings that you've done with Daniel, these energy clearings. What shifts in you? Because I've done mine as well. What shifts in you though when you do these clearings? What do you what do you feel? How do you end up on the other side?
Oh, it's worth the $500 every time you do it. It's such a good investment because when we were having weird things happen in our house, like our toys were going off, the boys' toys were like, we had goofy stuff going on. And again, a lot of people think this is like nonsense, but there's real energy out there and there's good and bad. And Daniel always corrects me. I say the universe, and he's like, no, say God, because the universe is good and bad. You just want to be in the light. And I'm one to never believe in the Bible because humans wrote it or any other form. It's like, how is it possible to believe these things when humans wrote it? I mean, who knows what happened 10,000 years ago? Who was it really 10,000? Who you don't know, but it's that belief system. So I believe in the energy and in God and in the powers that be, because if you believe it, you can think it. And if you think it, it can happen. It probably already has happened in some time frame for you. And he helps me clear any blockages that may be in the way.
It's interesting you bring that up because I grew up in a Southern Baptist home, knowing the Bible, knowing the verses, knowing the books, having the knowledge, lacking the wisdom. And what I mean by that is I didn't understand that there is, and you will use the word energy, but we'll then also use spirituality. There's a spiritual underlying energetic I can't even articulate it.
It's hard, right?
So,
It's belief. It's pure belief.
It's just
So
so
what do you
much
believe?
deeper. Yeah, it's just so much deeper than what I grew up learning. And I think that's why and you talk about things are set up to keep people trapped. And perhaps the work that you're doing slowly over time, and then it'll reach a point of acceleration, kind of a critical mass. You'll help people. As I've always joked that now, knowing what I know, The Matrix is a documentary. It's not science
Exactly.
fiction. And you're with your Monday money meditations, you'll help people wake up. You'll
That's
help
what I want.
elevate their mind. You'll help level their minds up to see things differently. And as we start to wrap up, I think this all comes down to, even you mentioned the surrender experiment and belief and thought. Another way of looking at this is the works of Neville Goddard, who wrote a book called Feeling is the Secret. And it helped me build a framework of, there are 4 steps that lead to a transformation. And the very first step is to see things differently, just to gain a new perspective and to be open to that, because that new perspective could challenge your belief. It could challenge what you knew before.
Yeah, being
Your
open.
past. Yeah, so, and being open. And then when you begin to see things differently, you're going to begin to think differently. Thought patterns begin to change. And so it's interesting whenever I work with executives and I'm like, so what's going to happen next? If you agree, and do you agree? And they're like, yeah, I agree. You see different. You're going to think different. I was like, so what's going to happen next? And they're like, I'm going to be different. I'm going to act different. I'm going to do different. I'm like, that's what I used to think. That's what I used to believe. And then I now know. And when I share this, people are like, I haven't seen this before. I haven't thought about this before. To bridge the gap between the thought and the action comes down to, you got to feel different. Maybe that's the intuition.
Yeah, doing
Maybe
it from
the
the heart
feeling of
versus
the
your
energy.
brain.
That's exactly right. Because you got to feel different. And once that you have that energy shift, that feeling shift, the heart is energy. Once that begins to shift, well, then the only logical outcome after that, that's when the behavior begins to shift.
Absolutely. That's the change. It's just got to let go. You're not in control. As much as you want to be, you're not. Hate to break it to you. That's waking up.
All right, buddy.
Appreciate
I want to
you.
end on this point. If someone has gotten this far in our conversation, I just want to first and foremost thank them, express my gratitude to them for sharing this time with us. I want to thank you for sharing your wisdom with us, but I also want to send them forward with something very practical that they can do next to continue to level up as an entrepreneur. What can they do to continue to let go to grow?
Truly, truly, truly be honest with yourself and do the things you want to do because that's your intuition talking to you. Just do that. Easier said than done, but peel back the layers, let other people's opinions, let them go, even your closest ones. That's when you're going to have your breakthroughs. So just go for it. You have nothing to lose. Truthfully, if it's meant for you, it'll be there.
And I will tell you from firsthand experience, sometimes you have to have a breakdown before you have a breakthrough. Sometimes, and you got to give Rusty credit for this, for sharing the video, but sometimes you are the grape and the grape has to be crushed to make wine. So sometimes you have to be crushed to then be transformed into something completely new altogether. If someone wants to continue the conversation we've started with you, if they want to elevate their financial confidence with the work you're doing with Diane Money, with the Monday Money Manifestations, what is the best way for them to connect, reach out, and say hello to you?
Yeah, just send me an email at bill@dianemoney.com. Easiest way to do it.
Connect with Bill, learn with Bill, level up and grow with Bill. Man, I appreciate
that. Appreciate you. It's always good to see you. It just makes my heart warm.
Yes, sir. I want to thank you for tuning in again to learn, to grow, to level up together with Billy's Unique Wisdom. If you are a visionary B2B entrepreneur who wants to transform your past experiences being some of the most valuable assets that you've gained as an entrepreneur, if you're going to transform those past experiences into IP that elevates your influence and increases your income, send me a text right now, 832-240-1922, because I want to teach you, I want to show you how you can turn video content just like this into a book that monetizes your unique wisdom.